Good morning, my friends. Happy day to you. We're out in the garden this morning, and I am here to talk to you about Arnica and specifically Arnica pain balm that I create in the apothecary here at Enchantment Creek. Arnica, I love working with it because it's effective, and I have created a very unique blend that is that much more effective than many of the remedies that you can purchase in the health food store. And I'm not saying I'm the only one doing this, it's just small batch herbalists have the capacity to work with plants fresh and work with small batches of plants because we are small. And when we're small and working with fresh plant material, the remedies that come out of an apothecary like this are that much more powerful and potent. So you're getting a super effective Arnica balm, really, when you're buying from an herbalist who is working with fresh plant material. But because I'm going to talk about mine and why I love working with Arnica so much. And Arnica is one of these sweet little woodland flowers that is, I work with Arnica cordifolia, so it's a rhizome herb, and it grows as a rhizome, so the root structure creeps along just under the surface of the soil in the forest. She likes to grow in conifers in the shade, partial sun. Super, super cute, sweet. I found some really prolific patches here in the northwest corner of Wyoming, and I tend to them mindfully, of course. I'm just looking at bees bumbling around the comfrey flowers. I have flowers already, what? Anyway, sorry, distraction. So I love harvesting this herb, and what happens when I harvest it is it comes into the apothecary within hours, and it is put into the oil, and we cook slow and very low. We cook the oil for up to 36 hours generally, until the flowers are crispy and until there is no condensation left on the top of the pot. And this is just to get all the waters to evaporate, to leave the plant so that there is no risk of any contamination with fungus or mold in the finished product. So, processing this flower fresh is essential. There are many constituents that are lost when Arnica is left to dry and go to seed. And again, when purchasing from a company that is large, they don't have the capacity to work with fresh plant material. And that is not their fault. It is just a component of being a massive company. Working with that much plant material fresh is nearly impossible for someone as large as, say, I don't know, like Boron or Veleda or who else? Other large companies like that. And when Arnica is left to dry, most of the active constituents that help with circulation, that help with vasoconstriction to reduce bruising, swelling, edema, etc., most of those are lost. So you're getting some effect, but when you switch over to something that is small batch, created by your local pharmacy, created by an herbalist that you know, you're getting a much more powerful, potent, and effective remedy. It's just the truth. This is one reason why I do recommend some of Gaia Herbs supplements, because Gaia is large enough to be reachable by everybody, but it is also small enough to still be working with fresh plant material that they harvest from their farm. They do outsource some herbs, of course, because again, they're large and they're working with lots of plant materials, but companies like that are still small, but they are in Whole Foods across the country. They're reachable by everybody. I love companies like that, and Herb Farm and Oregon's Wild Harvest, because they have a farm and they're processing a lot of their plant materials fresh. So that is really wonderful and powerful to be able to work with the plants and the fresh. So that is what I do, especially with my Arnica blend. So the way Arnica works, and the reason that it's pain relieving, is because it helps to reduce inflammation. It helps to move that inflammation away from the injury sites. So instead of like stopping the inflammatory process, which is a key component of healing, the inflammation is coming because it's coming, all these cells are coming to the injury site to help the repair process happen. And if we get too much of a response, that causes a bunch of congestion and swelling and uncomfortable experiences for us as humans. And then we get bruising, and then we get all these things because the inflammation is happening, broken blood vessels are spewing. So the Arnica just helps to disperse and bring in the lymphatic system's cleansing capacity to move that inflammatory response away from the injury site, getting the waste to go downstream through the lymphatic system, where it will then be excreted as metabolic waste by the liver and our detoxification organs. So the other way that Arnica helps with, reducing swelling helps to decrease pain in your nervous system experience. It also helps to reduce edema and pooling, especially for people who are like older, more sedentary, moving more fragilely through life. It's really hard for a person who is elderly and in pain to get the lymphatic movement that they need to get this flushing to happen naturally. Someone like me who's moving around all the time, I use Arnica all the time for sure. And do I need it as much for the swelling? Probably not. Someone who is, like I described, elderly, fragile, and pain, and moving around much more slowly at their point in life is going to need the help of the edema to move. So it's just aiding in our body's natural ability to relieve itself from swelling in the form of edema, fluid retention, and then again that inflammatory response coming to the injury site to help flush away and repair and get our bodies healed. So Arnica works that way. And in this capacity, Arnica is slightly passive to if it's helping the pain responses in the body. It's not a pain reliever. It is assisting in pain responses via the edema, movement of fluid, reduction of inflammatory responses. It is not a nervous system pain reliever. We have a kitty friend who's come to join us. And that is where I saw something lacking within the Arnica, topical Arnica realm. So I was in the forest as usual harvesting Arnica, and I noticed a group of plants. And the other plants were pedicularis and clematis, and granted those aren't the only plants that are growing with Arnica. There's lots of other plants, but these two in particular, I knew that they had some capacity to work with Arnica. So the year I developed this was years ago. I can't even remember. But I took a couple pedicularis plants home. I took a couple, feet of vine is how I work with clematis, because it's a very, what is the word? I can't think of the word, but it's like super listful, I guess is the word that's coming. I don't know that that's correct, but it's very, not a lot of plant material. I'm not going to go and harvest pounds of it because that would be like decimating an entire area. So I work with it by the foot. And so I grabbed some of that and brought them home and refreshed my understanding of these two particular plants. And they're both nervous system pain relievers and vasodilators, pedicularis specifically. They are the perfect companion to Arnica. Now, pedicularis is really cool. Wood betony is a common name. I work with Procera, pedicularis procera, because that is what grows here prolifically. There's elephant's head too, and I can't remember the Latin name for that one, but I know that grows more prolifically. It grows here, but it also is really abundant in like lower elevations and coastlines. And that's the one to be mindful of, and I'm going to explain why. Pedicularis is a parasitic type plant. It grows along the root structures of other plants, and it attaches itself, and there is some chemical constituents that will transfer, or theoretically will transfer, because hi, this is not being researched at all, because why would any scientist ask for money or get money to research a wild plant that is medicinal? It just doesn't happen in this country. Anyway, Pedicularis procera grows along, and because it's attached to other plants, it is most likely absorbing some of the chemicals off the plant. And the procera that I work with grows typically along aspen groves. And aspens, like bamboo groves, grow together, and they all sprout off of the root structure. And you can trace aspen trees all the way back to like 1 or 2 parent plants that have created this entire grove over time. Pedicularis procera grows along, not only grows on spruce trees too, but particularly I like the aspen groves because if Pedicularis is absorbing constituents off of the plant that it's parasitically growing off of, aspirin, salicylic acid, is coming out of the aspen trees, and I find that to be even more effective in the harvesting. So the spruce ones are fine. Pedicularis procera in aspen groves is generally what I go for. And again, it's a plant that's really difficult to harm, just like Arnica. So you'll have your Arnica up here in the conifers, and then it'll trickle off, and then you'll have your Pedicularis after like maybe a meadow coming into the aspen grove that's around it, and I love that relationship. And for those of you who live in lower elevations who need to be mindful of poison water hemlock, and you're looking at wood betony, and the elephant's head variety is what I'm thinking of because that's what I've had experience harvesting in wet areas, you want to be absolutely sure there are no poison water hemlocks around, because that pedicularis could be leaching chemicals, constituents off of that toxic plant. So that's just, be mindful for those of you who are wild harvesting, and those of you who are living in areas where you do need to be mindful of poison water hemlock growing where you're harvesting in the wild. So, but pedicularis is super effective, and I have found maybe 2 studies on it through PubMed and ResearchGate and all the places like that. And it wasn't a positive study at all, but the historical use of pedicularis is what I am going off of, and that to me is most important. And pedicularis is incredibly effective at pain relief to the nervous system. It is helping blood flow, so it's really effective for headaches as a vasodilator. It is also dispersing in its energy, so it's helping to move heat, move inflammatory responses away from injury sites, and it is super, super effective for that, for being with Arnica for pain relief. And the next one is clematis, and clematis is super toxic to take internally, but topically perfectly safe for topical application, perfectly safe to work with on unbroken skin, just like Arnica. We don't want to be putting Arnica on broken skin. We don't want to be putting clematis on broken skin, but clematis is also a nervous system pain reliever. Both of the plants, pedicularis and clematis, have a slightly euphoria feeling, and so what I've noticed, and I honestly haven't had much feedback like this, but I'm super energetically sensitive. When I put my Arnica balm on my back, last year I rolled the crap out of my ankle early harvest garden season because I was breastfeeding and I was still super, like my ligaments were still all super loosey-goosey. I rolled my ankle so bad. And when I would put Arnica on, or when I just put it on my back, because low back, hello, I'm a gardener full time, um, I get a sense of like euphoric, floating, like, I'm just being held. My pain is being held and being metabolized by my body and effectively and quickly. So I find that to be a super beneficial and delightful component of my Arnica balm. I do have geranium in the blend as well. And geranium is in there because it's important to prep the skin for topical remedies, especially those that you're like looking for pain relief. You're looking for super active, effective, and quick effects. And so I've added geranium just to have that astringency and preparation for the skin. So that's in there to prep the skin, to allow the medicine to really be absorbed and brought into the body quickly and effectively. So the next thing I wanted to highlight is my oil blend. I do have this. I have this very nice blend of oils, which I feel is a super key component to making people want to put the salve on. Lots of salves are greasy and gross and just sit on your skin. In a former life, I was an esthetician and I really got into nourishing oils for the skin because putting oil on an organ that produces oil makes a lot of sense to me. I was trained by Dr. Hauschka back in those days. That was the beginning of my herbal path because I found the herbs through Dr. Hauschka's skincare and became totally obsessed. Anyway, there's other reasons I became obsessed with plants, but I was like, okay, it was just more breadcrumbs for me to follow. So they're all about treating oily skin with oil, and I did that successfully. I used to have really gnarly acne, and when I started putting oil on my skin instead of trying to strip my skin of the oil it was overproducing, everything changed. Internal things changed too, and I did work with people in my practice that way. Anyway, I digress. So the oils that I work with in my salves are, and it's the same blend for the calendula as well, are avocado oil and apricot kernel oil. And they are so yummy. They are really, really light, really nourishing oils for the skin, and they just create the most beautiful base for a salve. I use local beeswax only, and I use organic, raw, unfiltered shea butter. And that blend of butters and oils and waxes, the skin drinks it. And those of you, I've had a lot of people talk about how beeswax is congestive to the skin. I completely disagree with that because I have used beeswax on my skin for like almost 20, as long as I've been practicing herbalism, nearly 20 years, probably around 15 to be perfectly fair. And I do not have congested skin. I feel that the benefits of beeswax, like if you were to use paraffin, totally different story, but the benefits of beeswax far outweighs the congestive features that may exist in a waxy substance. And again, this is Dr. Hauschka uses beeswax, and that's a line that's been around forever. Rudolf Steiner was a part of its birth process into this world. It's grown biodynamically, organically in Germany, and I find it to be like, I do not see beeswax as a problem. And someone who lives in like a really humid place might have an issue with it, but that is the only issue that I can possibly think of that would show itself through beeswax being applied to the skin. And I get a blackhead every once in a while these days, but I use it on my skin every single day. And Arnica I use many times a week, and I cannot get behind that beeswax is a congestive substance for our skin. So that is my blend of Arnica, and I just want to stress how important it is to be working with your local pharmacy. Your local pharmacy, your local herbalist, and whether that's me or another herbalist in your area that you know, they're going to be working with the plants in not only a really mindful, ethical, beautiful way, they are touching them, they're putting their love of the plant material into every single blend that they make. And that energetic exchange is one of the most powerful components of natural, therapeutic, traditional medicine practices. I say traditional medicine because it is our medicine. It has always been our medicine. It has been the people's medicine for centuries. The pharmaceutical industry has only been around for just over 100 years. And it was a hard sell to the public to shift away from folk hedgerow herbalists and medicine women and healers. And by a hard sell, I mean it took a couple thousand years in the Inquisition and traumatizing and burning it out of people. Herbalists who are working with the plants, herbalists who are growing their own plants, who are working with local farms, there's tons of them out there. They're reviving that traditional connection with nature and with their communities through their work with plants. And that creates a powerfully effective herbal medicine, no matter what the medicine is. And I am one, when I work with clients, I am addressing the entire body, right? We're looking at food, we're looking at lifestyle, we're looking at what you're ingesting, whether that be in your mouth, on your skin, through your mind and your ears and your eyes, and then what connection my clients have to spirit, to source, to creator. These are all essential components of a nourished, balanced human. And I know that when I am working with my medicines that I grow here in gardens, let's just take a look at the shade garden. I know that when these medicines are harvested, they are being harvested in deep ceremony. They are being harvested in reverence to their power. And my friends, that is the energy our earth needs from us. We are meant to work with the earth. We are meant to be involved in the processes of natural bodies. And we are naturally energetic beings. There's an electromagnetic field that runs throughout our entire system. And I've been in a deep place of researching everything from religious structures to doctors who are talking about the real functions of our body. And by real, I mean a lot of what we understand as our bodily systems have not been scientifically proven. They've been, what's the right word? I'm not sure. I don't want to say, they've been manipulated and then used to scare the people 100 plus years ago into the theories being the only way. And it's important for us to move beyond that. So Arnica balm, it's a topical, it's not scary, it's a great place to start, and I hope I get to work with you soon. Please like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and do all the YouTube things so that I can get these messages out there. It's important for you to do that. And you can support my work through my online pharmacy, where I have all of my apothecary offerings, my herb shop. We have tinctures, digestive bitters, immune system support, sleep and stress support, and then of course my topicals, and I will link that in the description below. And I'm really glad you're here, especially if you've made it this far. Thank you so much for being here.